And my airline app checked her in with a companion on my miles. The push notification landed with the tone my phone reserves for good news. Thanks for flying, Aurelian. Companion checked in. Enjoy your lounge access. Companion. Myra plus 1 seat 4C and 4D, my miles, my status, my wife. Someone's plus one who wasn't me. I was on a loading dock pretending the rain wasn't trying to unionize. Forklifts sang their rude songs. A pallet leaned like a bad opinion. I stared at the screen until the warehouse blurred. The app's confetti effect did its little celebration. The route was a triangle everyone loves to romanticize. Kiev to Lviv to a hotel with a courtyard that photographs well. Departure in 3 hours. Add to wallet, the app asked helpfully. I added nothing. I stood in the wet metal smell of my ordinary life and felt distance begin without anybody moving. Aurelian treats me like a minor aristocrat. I've spent years converting late nights and early cargo into lounges, upgrades, a gold card that thinks it knows my name. I opened the booking. Under companion, the system had filled in a traveler profile I didn't recognize. Roman K, passport number ending in numbers that looked like a shrug. It had paired him to my status. He could board when I board. He could eat almonds in a room that believes in silence. He could use my miles to make an exit more polite. I called Myra. She picked up with her voice set to public place. Plates chimed in the background. Somebody laughed in espresso. "Hey," she said. "Congratulations," I said. "You and a companion qualify for priority boarding." Silence has a way of checking identification. Hers lasted exactly long enough for me to picture her pressing a napkin flat with her forefinger. "Alex," she said. It landed between us like a folded letter. "You booked Lviv on my account," I said. "With a companion the airline now loves as much as I do." She exhaled the way people do when they are choosing what to become next. "I'm going to a brand showcase," she said, soft. "Roman is consulting on the venue. We needed to be there before the team." "You added him to my status," I said, as if the sentence could become less stupid if we kept saying it. "I clicked the button that was already highlighted," she said, which is both an excuse and a thesis. I ended the call before either of us said the thing that makes you spend a month apologizing to your own mouth. Then I did the only civilized thing left that could still be uncivil. I went to the airport. The highway wore the day like a stain. I drifted past trucks and families who had the decency to be obvious. Aurelian's terminal looks like a compromise between futurism and a shopping mall. I like it because doors obey you there. I parked wrong, walked in, and let the carpet tell me I was important. The lounge desk greeted me with the smile of a person who has trained to rescue people from themselves. "Welcome, Mr. Kovac," the agent said. "Your guests are inside." "Two?" I asked. "Two," she confirmed. I moved into the room where money pretends to be quiet. They were in the corner, of course, the corner that has the least reflective surfaces. Myra saw me, and a dozen micro-expressions did a parade on her face and saluted. Roman turned and didn't flinch, which I hate finding attractive in other men. "You're early," Myra said. "My app is prompt," I said. Roman stood, the way men do when they want to believe they deserve a trial. "I booked through her account out of efficiency," he said. "Your status made the system think we were family." "The system is sentimental," I said. The lounge carried on being calm around us. A businessman tightened the lid on a soup he was pretending to enjoy. A couple whispered into each other like a secret was a loaf they could divide. I took the empty chair across from them and set my phone down like proof. "Here are my terms," I said, because pretending I hadn't thought about them on the way here would have been theater. "You cancel his companion check-in. You fly alone if you must fly. When you land, you work, you sleep, you come home. In 21 days, we decide whether any trips happen without the person who owns the bed." Myra held my gaze and did something I will love her for even when I'm old and can't remember the price of bread. She didn't ask if I was serious. She asked, "What do you put on the table?" "My hands," I said. "And now, I stop saving appetite for weekends and hotel light. I stop being an excellent colleague in my own house. I touch you before the dishwasher can argue." Roman looked at the floor with the humility of a man who has been given his part. "I'll remove myself," he said, and moved toward the desk like an apology finding paperwork. Myra and I sat there. Someone announced a boarding gate in a voice that didn't believe in urgency. She slid her fingers along the armrest and found mine. Her thumb rested in the groove between two knuckles like a person who knows where the maps meet. "Do you want me now?" she asked, not even pretending to be coy. "Our bad habit is waiting until after." "Yes," I said, "because saying it is how I make it true." We didn't kiss in the lounge. We behave in public, even when the building deserves better. But the air changed between us. We left with the kind of co-conspiracy that sometimes looks like spouses not making a scene. At the check-in desk, Roman canceled himself with the competence of someone who has practiced being decent lately. He turned back with a small, unhandsome vulnerability. "I'm sorry I let your status put my name on a door," he said to me. "I'm not sorry I love the way she walks toward rooms." He said loved in past tense and meant it. Good. He stepped away. Myra kept the ticket. Elvive still existed. She kissed my jaw the way you feel dress a wound, quick, efficient, reverent. "I'll be home tomorrow evening," she said. "No hotels, big table, too much light, work, sleep." The plane stole her for 24 hours. The app gloated by telling me her flight had landed and that she had earned me miles. I deleted the push like a man who doesn't want to be congratulated for being a sucker. I went home and cleaned, not as penance, as preparation. The kitchen looked like it wanted to be believed in. I cut garlic too thick and let olive oil make it seem intentional. I set the ugly plates we bought the year we realized style was no substitute for rent. I took a shower and didn't pre-write my lines. She texted from Elvive at 23:07, a blurry photo of a ballroom not admitting it was a warehouse with good PR. "No sweet," she wrote. "No silence I didn't earn." I sent a thumb up, which is what you send when the alternative is something both true and unhelpful. I slept in a bed that remembered two people and refused to be dramatic about one. She returned the next day at a time that makes doors relevant again. When the lock clicked, the room took off its jacket. She came in with rain in her hair and a face that had remembered something instead of discovering anything. She dropped her bag and her posture at the same time. "You cooked," she said. "I did it out of lust," I said, which made her smile into her neck. We ate. We said the not fancy words out loud. "This hurts. That doesn't. I want. Stop. More." We put our phones face down and used our mouths for better work. She sat on the counter and pulled me in by the belt and asked the question I am teaching myself to answer without intermission. "Now," she said. "Yes," I said. It wasn't acrobatic. It was specific. My hand below her shoulder blade, that little scene-stealing area above the waistband, her knee nudging my thigh into a better sentence. The kitchen light was unromantic in the way honesty often is. After dinner, we lay on the rug like teenagers who have finally met the part adulthood forgot to warn them about. We laughed at nothing long enough to turn it into something. The house felt used in the holy way. Over the next weeks, we were indecently procedural. We wrote rules in our heads and broke them correctly. No travel metaphors in bed. No resentments that begin with always. No martyrdom before midnight. We took ordinary walks and looked at small dogs with the decorum required. We kept choosing to be boring in the rooms that birthed us. Aurelian begged me to travel. I declined the way you decline exes who suddenly have boundaries. Exclusive fare for our elites, they whispered through the app. Upgrade sale. I turned off notifications. When the app asked why, I typed I'm home. On day 5, I failed. A client moved a deadline without moving the laws of physics. I levitated around the warehouse until my neck made an angry violin. When I got home, Myra was at the table with a spreadsheet that looked too much like my face. Now, she asked, the question doing its useful violence. I'm afraid I'm more charming in crisis than in the kitchen, I said, and it sounded like a man trying to get away with something gentle and selfish. She stood anyway, walked to me, and put my palm exactly where it learned to go when we were poor and new. Then be a crisis, she said. I'll fix you. We made out like amateurs in a competition. We weren't trying to win. The world got small enough to manage. Later, I did the dishes with exaggerated piety. She sat on the counter swinging her feet like a metronome that had picked a side. On day 8, I saw Roman in the aisle of a bookstore, holding a biography like he wanted to apologize to the past. He spotted me and did that useful thing decent people do when everyone is tired. He took responsibility without making it look tragic. I found a train that goes everywhere slowly, he said. Enjoy it, I said. Then we delayed bumping into each other again by choosing different sections of the city to love. On day 10, the airline texted a survey. How likely are you to recommend Aurelian to a friend? I answered like a man repairing a cabinet. Unlikely. Reason. The best rooms are the ones I can unlock with my own hands. I closed the app and kissed my wife in the hallway because the hallway owed me a favor. On day 12, Dasha asked if we would fly to Odessa for the opening of a thing. We're domestic for a while, I said. She laughed into the phone like I had said something outrageous and holy. Domestic is punk, she said, as if we'd invented it. On day 15, I took Myra to Borispol without a ticket. We ate bad croissants near departures and watched people gather their identities around them. She pointed out the ones who had packed carefully, the ones who had packed for a life they didn't want to be forced to admit. We kissed on a bench that could have been anywhere and decided to be somewhere. On day 19, we had a stupid argument that lasted 6 minutes and 3 sentences. It was about salad, and it was about sex, and it was about whether later is a synonym for never. We solved it by starting to kiss and continuing until one of us remembered we were allowed to stop mid-sentence and still be heard. The house applauded by not falling down. On day 21, there was no ceremony, no confetti. The app stayed as quiet as a person who learned the right lesson. We woke early and lay there with our noses almost touching, breathing in a way that told the room it didn't need to prove anything. She said, "Do you still want me now?" And I said, "Always," not as superstition but as maintenance. We made coffee like a religion that keeps the lights on. We sent each other to work with our mouths. A week later, a package arrived addressed to me in neat, neutral handwriting. Inside, an Aurelian luggage tag, leather, unbranded, with a card the color of resignation. "For trips you take together," the note said. No signature. The tag was beautiful and useless. I looped it on the handle of the rolling suitcase we keep for in-town hotel emergencies we no longer want. Sometimes I still feel the itch in my thumb to open the airline app when the afternoon turns to glass. Sometimes I still want to be adored by systems. Then Myra walks through the door and she smells like the world. And she says, "Now," with that small, brave smile. And I remember that the best status is the one you earn with your hands on a person who is home. I kept the original push notification. It lives in a screenshot I don't scroll to often. When I look at it, I don't feel fury. I feel the mercy of the stupid little confetti effect, trying to celebrate a problem it didn't understand. I show it to myself like a stamped passport from a country I am no longer interested in visiting alone. If you need a lesson you can attach to a loyalty account, don't give your desire to airlines. If you need the better version, stop putting intimacy in rooms that ask for ID. Put your hands where the maps agree. Answer now, when the person you love asks the only question that still makes sense as a measure of anything that matters. And when a system confuses your status with your life, correct it kindly and immediately, then close the app and open your front door.